Well, we caught up with Lachlan Mosley a couple of weeks ago. It is SA Derby time this weekend as the Group 1 season rolls on at Morfettville. The time-honoured South Australian Derby, which has been upgraded in prize money to be worth a seven-figure sum at $1 million this time around. And Mummify, Rebel Raider, Russian Camelot, Sub-Zero, some fantastic names on the honour roll here. And Lockie, as we welcome you, do you have a favourite edition of the race? It might be dependent upon whether you've landed one at a price or just a favourite horse going around that has grabbed this in the past.
Obviously, like the Mummifiers and the Sub-Zeros, they're probably your best winners and most famous horses from the race. A little bit before my time, to be honest. Like Rebel Raider winning for Leon McDonald and Claire Lindop was a pretty special one. But even as like late as last year, Dunkel for Paddy Payne and Billy Egan was probably my favourite because I actually did the preview for this race for Betfair last year, and I was really keen on it at a pretty big price. And it had a sort of a inconspicuous run in the Alistair Clark the start before, and I thought, you know what, that horse actually went all right. It should be able to go all right in a derby, and yeah, it was back from 14s to 6s, and it came out and won. So it was a pretty special one, and yeah, probably my favourite one, to be honest.
There's been plenty that have caught the eye over the journey. Just before we look at some of the individual key chances over this distance and at this track, and based on what you've seen, how significant is the barrier draw? You look at a couple of the leading Victorian hopes, Bold Soul getting barrier 12, Warmonger getting 14, Jamie Carr with Coco's Son gets 10. And obviously, there are a few others that have drawn pretty well. The VRC St Ledger winner, Uhuru, not one of them, a little bit on the outside as well. But how concerned or perhaps not concerned would you be by those handful of horses drawing double figures?
Not really concerned. I think with the Derby, and as we've seen over the sort of the past 10 years, the best horse generally wins the race. The horse that can actually stay the 2,500 strongly will win the race. You've got plenty of time to find a position in the running. So those horses that are favourites that have drawn out wide, they generally get that run on horses anyway. So as long as there is that genuine speed in the race, I don't see, your Bold Souls, your Warmongers getting, even though they are going to get a long way back, I think they'll still have that strength and that turn of foot at the finish to be all over them.
Now, progressive local hope, a Samurai Mind, has only been to the races a handful of times, four, I think, in all, but really progressing well. Lockie Neindorf has had that Group 1 taste just a week ago. And how do you rate the chances of him maybe landing another one 7 days later?
It'd be pretty good. It was pretty special watching Climbing Star win that race for Lockie. He's a close friend of mine, so I was really, really proud of him. They've been talking up this Samurai Mind for 18 months now that it is a Group 1 horse, even before it had its first start. And, the jockey and the trainer have made it abundantly clear that they think it can win a Group 1. This is the one they've been targeting even before the debut. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident it'll run well. Neindorf's riding with his tail up at the moment. And yeah, it'd be nice to see the race stay in South Australia for a change because I think the last sort of 20 years only Kushadazi and Rebel Raider, I was going to say Rebel Racer, Rebel Raider have won it for the SA boys. So it'd be nice for it to stay here. They've taken a different approach. Like most horses have that run in the chairman's the start before, but this horse just raced in a 1950 benchmark race on a Saturday just to keep ticking over for it. So it sort of gives that horse that two-week break rather than coming off the quick backup in the chairman. So could prove to be a masterstroke. He's a big striding galloper, and I think he'll give it a shake.
There's a few in your feature preview, which we encourage people to have a look at, that you are playing around. Bold Soul, you mentioned the chairman's is one of those. We'll have a chat about another runner that was in that race shortly. But your thoughts on Bold Soul coming to this one with Patrick Payne trying to win the race for the second year in a row?
Well, it's Bold Soul's had that Dunkel sort of preparation. It went to the Hobart Guineas or Launceston Guineas, the Derby over there, which it won. It didn't go to the Alistair Clark, but it ran a super race winning the chairman's. It looked like hard riding at the 600. And to be able to pick up over 2,000 meters and get there on the line when it looked in a bit of trouble was really gutsy. And it looked like, a week later, an extra 500 meters in trip won't harm the horse at all. I think even at the $7-8 or whatever's on offer, it's probably the one to beat.
Now, you've been very good at finding value over the journey. It's been one of your features. Now, in that Chairman's Run, we look at Elder Warrior, who has followed a similar path, I guess, to Bold Soul. But the consensus from some as to why the price is what it is was that good early in the campaign, not as convincing later in the campaign. But I get the feeling you looked at the Chairman Stakes and felt that that could have gone very differently if not for, a split second here or there with luck and openings and maybe therefore should be a bit shorter.
Well, yeah, that's it. If you have a look at the replay, Warrior to Warrior seemed to be travelling quite strongly, and it loomed to pop out on the corner, and it just got held in by Bold Soul. It could have definitely had its run, and then it just missed the run, and Bold Soul was off and gone. And Warrior to Walter, had to switch over heels, laid in a little bit, was looking for gaps in the straight. And then even on the line, he sort of was coming again. Whether he would have won it, not too sure. But he finished 1.8 lengths away, but he should have finished a lot closer. So in terms of Bold Soul will go around just over $5, and this horse is 50 plus. I think just at the price discrepancy, you've probably got to have a little play each way. So yeah, that's the best roughie of the race.
Yeah, at the time of recording, I think it's 65. So we'll see where that does end up. But yeah, the gap between those two should certainly be a little bit shorter. I guess just your summary of some of those key chances. As we said, people can read exactly where you've landed tip wise, but a couple that maybe we haven't mentioned that you think will play a role.
I think in that Chairman's race, I think Warmonger, it was a puzzling run. It sort of didn't look interested early, and then it was flopped out the back from the bad gate, and was given Damien Lane a bit of a tricky time. But once he sort of balanced the horse up, and the horse decided to switch on, it rocketed home for fifth, and another 100 meters, it probably would have run the race. So. That was a bit of an eye catcher. Yes, he's favourite, but he probably deserves to be favourite on that run. The other one is the Samurai Mine, which we have touched on. Be nice to see the horse, the race stay in South Australia, but it rarely does. So good luck to the connections there. Coco Sun, I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire. Like, I didn't have it in my numbers early, but I mean, horses that do come off those really nice closing finishes in the Oaks, the start before, the week before, they generally do run well in the race. So I get, that big money move as soon as the barriers came out. Jamie Carr goes on. Yeah, it wouldn't be, it's not in my top four, but it wouldn't surprise me. So if you want to have a saver there or something, go for your life. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's plenty more chances. 3-year-old racing, staying racing, you just don't know what you're going to get. But it is a race that generally has been favourable for horses, sub $10. So that's probably the way we're going to play it.
And the final one, putting you on the spot, I know your previews are floating through, but anything else on the card, one standout on the card, maybe that you think will be a outside of the Derby?
I don't mind in race. I think it's race 4. Let me just scroll up. A horse called Maricourt for Hickmont and Jessica Eaton. It just got trapped on the inside last start, and it looked to resent to take runs. It's going around at a pretty decent price. It draws wide, but there looks to be good speed on it. It is a horse that likes to get back and swoop. So if that speed is on, and from barrier 13, it's going to actually get clear air on Saturday. So that would be mine. If you want to play each way, that sounds good. And another one, I'd probably be looking at a horse called Easy Campese as well. Sarah Rutten's turned this horse around. It's an 8-year-old, but she's doing an absolutely magnificent job with the horse. It's had bad barriers. It's had a different jockey every time. It finally draws gate 5 or gate 4 or something, and it gets Damien Lane. So, I mean, if it's ever going to win a race, it's probably this one. So those two I'd be looking to back outside of the card.
Terrific, and you can check out those previews. Of course, there is the Morphettville page and the feature preview for the SA Derby. Lockie, good luck on Saturday and hope it goes well.
No dramas, mate. Thanks for having me.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.